There comes a time in life when the noise around you becomes too loud to hear your own voice. And in that chaos, you start to forget who you are. But silence, my dear, is not a weakness. It is not the absence of strength. It is the space where you return to yourself. In a world that constantly demands you to speak, to react, to explain every emotion you feel, choosing silence becomes a form of power. Not the kind that screams to be recognized, but the kind that breathes peace into your soul. You don't always have to respond. You don't have to defend your choices, your healing, or your growth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to sit with your pain, acknowledge it, and let it teach you. You owe no one an explanation for your silence. It is in that silence that you start to hear your own truth, undistorted by opinions, untouched by judgments. That silence becomes your sanctuary, a sacred space where you reconnect with the parts of you that were lost trying to meet expectations that were never yours to carry. There will be moments when your silence is mistaken for weakness. Let them believe what they want. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to understand yourself. When you stop explaining yourself, you begin to focus inward. You start to pour your energy into rebuilding what the world tried to break. And you do it quietly, not to hide, but to protect your peace. Because not every emotion deserves an audience. Not every scar needs to be shown to prove that you've been through something. We live in a world that glorifies noise, constant validation, endless opinions, exaggerated expressions. But when you step away from all that, when you choose silence, you begin to realize how rare peace truly is. And once you find it, you'll stop giving people access to the parts of you that deserve to be handled with care. Silence teaches you that presence doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes, just being calm, grounded, and present is enough. You are not running away from the world when you choose silence. You are returning to yourself. You are choosing not to waste your energy proving your worth. You are focusing on your healing, on your growth, on your light. And in that stillness, you begin to rise, not for the world to see, but for yourself to feel whole again. Let your silence be the proof that you are no longer who you used to be. Let it be the space where you begin again, stronger, softer, and more in love with the person you are becoming. There is something profoundly beautiful about turning your gaze inward and realizing that your first responsibility is to yourself. We are taught from a young age to give, to serve, to put others before us. But rarely are we told that focusing on ourselves is not selfish. It's survival, it's healing, it's self-respect. When you begin to focus on yourself, you are not ignoring the world. You are simply choosing to prioritize the one person who has walked through every storm with you. There comes a point in life when giving too much leaves you empty. You start to feel invisible in your own story, constantly pouring into others, while forgetting to fill your own cup. And it's in that emptiness that you begin to understand. Your energy is sacred. Your time, your heart, your peace, they are not for everyone. When you focus on yourself, you stop begging people to see your worth. You stop performing for validation. Instead, you begin to honor yourself by showing up, even when no one else claps. It's not about shutting people out. It's about realizing that not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. You begin to draw quiet boundaries, not with anger, but with love for yourself. You start to unlearn the idea that being available to everyone means you are kind. True kindness begins with you. And sometimes it means saying no, saying not now, saying I need time for me. You don't owe anyone your constant presence, especially when it comes at the cost of your own peace. When you truly focus on yourself, you start seeing the little wins that no one else notices. Waking up and choosing peace, saying nothing when provoked, choosing to heal rather than retaliate. These moments don't make headlines, but they shift your entire world. They build strength quietly. They rebuild self-worth silently. You stop measuring your life through others' opinions. You stop comparing your journey to timelines that don't belong to you. You realize that your pace, your process, and your path are yours for a reason. And that is when the transformation begins. Not loudly, but deeply. You begin to listen to your body, honor your emotions, and trust your intuition. You begin to care less about who is watching and more about who you're becoming. The more you focus on yourself, the less noise matters. The less you explain, the less you chase. You simply become rooted, grounded, whole. And when you reach that place, silence no longer feels lonely. It feels like home. Because in that quiet, you meet the version of yourself that is not defined by pain or people, but by peace. So no, it's not selfish to focus on yourself. It's sacred. And when you finally choose you, everything around you begins to shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did, quietly, powerfully, unapologetically. There's a quiet kind of strength in knowing when not to speak. Life will hand you battles, some loud, some quiet, some that pull at your dignity. But not every battle is worth your voice. Not every situation needs your reaction. You learn this the hard way through disappointments, misunderstandings, and moments where you gave too much of your energy trying to explain yourself to people who were never willing to understand you in the first place. When you begin to truly focus on yourself, something shifts. You start to value your peace more than proving a point. You start choosing silence over unnecessary arguments. Not because you don't have the words, but because you've learned that peace is worth more than being right. This is not cowardice. This is wisdom, painfully earned, quietly carried. There is dignity in walking away from what tries to pull you into chaos. Sometimes, staying silent is the most powerful thing you can do. Because the moment you stop explaining, you start reclaiming. You reclaim your time, your calm, your self-respect. The world expects you to react, to defend, to prove, to justify. But silence is a disruption in itself. It unsettles those who expect you to break. And while they try to read your silence, you are busy healing in it. There will be people who provoke you, challenge you, try to pull you into conversations meant to drain your spirit. But you begin to see through the noise. You understand that not every opinion is worth your attention. That not every confrontation deserves your energy. You learn to sit with the discomfort of being misunderstood without rushing to fix it. You learn to let people think what they want, because your truth no longer depends on their understanding. This kind of restraint doesn't come easily. It takes inner work. It takes sitting with your anger and asking it what it's really trying to say. It takes unlearning the habit of responding just to be heard. Over time, you find comfort in stillness. You let your actions speak. You let your growth, your peace, and your resilience tell the story that your words no longer need to tell. And something beautiful happens. You begin to rise, not in noise, but in presence. Not to prove a point, but to live in your truth. The more silent you become about what doesn't matter, the louder your life becomes about what does. You begin to live intentionally. Protect your energy and walk away from anything that disturbs your inner world. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to be understood by everyone. Some battles are simply not yours to fight. Let them go. Stay grounded. Stay quiet. And keep walking, because your silence is not weakness. It is clarity. It is power. It is the space where you choose yourself, again and again, without explanation. There's something deeply sacred about healing in private. In a world that celebrates visibility, it takes courage to choose solitude. But true healing isn't loud. It doesn't need to be broadcasted or dressed in perfect words. It's raw, messy, and deeply personal. And sometimes, the most powerful transformation happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when the only person holding your hand is yourself. You don't have to explain your wounds. You don't have to post your progress or prove your growth to anyone. When you are truly focused on healing, you start to understand that your journey is not a performance. It's not for applause. It's for you. And it happens one silent decision at a time. Choosing peace over chaos. Choosing stillness over noise. Choosing yourself over and over again, even when it feels lonely. Silence becomes a sanctuary where you can break without shame, cry without fear, and rebuild without pressure. It's in this space that you begin to hear your own voice again. The one that was buried beneath expectations, opinions, and heartbreak. And slowly you begin to trust that voice. It doesn't shout. It whispers. But those whispers guide you home. You start letting go of things you never imagined living without. People, patterns, even parts of yourself. Money. But you do it with quiet strength, not because you're heartless, but because you've learned the value of your peace. Not everything deserves a response. Not everything broken needs to be shared. You don't need to prove your healing. You just need to feel it. Fully. Deeply. Privately. There will be days when it feels like nothing is changing. Days when you want to scream, when silence feels like suffocation. But stay. Breathe. Trust the stillness. Growth is not always visible. Some of the most beautiful things in life, like roots, like resilience, grow in silence beneath the surface, unseen. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll notice you're no longer breaking over the things that once crushed 2. Money. You don't need the world to witness your healing. You just need to witness your own strength. And when you rise, and you will, you won't need to announce it. People will feel it. They will see it in your calm, in your choices, in your peace. Because true healing doesn't ask for attention. It simply becomes a part of who you are. So take your time. Heal slowly, quietly. Let the silence hold you while you rebuild. You don't owe the world your story while you're still writing it. Rise in power, not in noise. Rise with grace. And remember, your healing is yours. It doesn't have to be explained. It only has to be lived. There's a profound truth in the idea that actions speak louder than words. When you choose to grow in silence, you allow your life to become the message. Sometimes words can fall short or be misunderstood, but actions, they carry weight. They carry meaning, they carry proof. You don't need to explain your journey, your struggles, or your progress. Let the way you live your life be the quiet, but undeniable echo of your resilience and strength. Growth often happens behind closed doors. Fear of losing health, money, away from the eyes of the world. It's in those unseen moments of discipline, of showing up even when you don't feel like it, of choosing kindness when bitterness feels easier, that you build a foundation so strong. It doesn't need to be shouted from rooftops. You don't have to tell people what you're working on or how far you've come. Your consistent actions will speak volumes for you, louder and clearer than any words ever could. When you stay silent and focus on your growth, you protect your energy. You don't waste it trying to convince others or justify your decisions. Instead, you invest that energy in becoming better, stronger emotionally, wiser mentally, and calmer spiritually. And that kind of growth is magnetic. It draws people in naturally, not because you are demanding their attention, but because you have become a beacon of peace and power. There is something beautiful about evolving quietly, about letting your results do the talking. It's a humble way of living, a way that shows you don't need validation or applause to be worthy. You begin to understand that real success is internal before it becomes external. The more you nurture yourself, the less you feel the need to explain or defend your path. People will notice your transformation, not because you announced it, but because it's genuine and visible in your demeanor, your confidence, and the calmness in your eyes. Your silence becomes your strength, your growth becomes undeniable, and your life becomes a testament to your resilience. Others may try to label your quietness as weakness or indifference, but you know better. You know that real power doesn't have to be loud. It can be soft, steady, and deeply rooted. Money. Living this way doesn't mean you are hiding. It means you are wise enough to protect your journey from unnecessary noise. You understand that every step you take in silence is a step toward the best version of yourself. And when you finally choose to share your story or your success, it will be on your terms, with no need for justification. Because by then, your actions will have already told the whole truth. So grow quietly, persist patiently, and live intentionally. Let your life be the whisper that speaks louder than any shout. because in the end, your silent growth will shine brighter than words ever could, proving that sometimes the most powerful things are those left unspoken. It's easy to feel invisible in a world that often measures worth by visibility, by how loud you are, how many eyes are on you, or how many voices applaud your existence. But the truth is, your value doesn't come from being seen or recognized by others. You are enough, exactly as you are, even when no one is watching. This is a truth we often forget in the noise of expectations, comparisons, and the endless chase for approval. Focusing on yourself means embracing this quiet but powerful reality. Your worth is not defined by the applause of the crowd or the number of likes on a post. It is defined by the authenticity you carry within. When you stop seeking external validation, you create space to honor your own journey, your own pace, and your own unique light. You begin to understand that being unseen doesn't make you less important. It simply means your worth is intrinsic, not performative. This realization is freeing. It means you no longer have to perform to prove you matter. You don't need to explain your path, your struggles, or your dreams to anyone else. You are worthy just because you exist. Your silent efforts, your quiet victories, your unseen battles, all of these are valid and precious. They are the true measure of who you are. There will be times when it feels lonely, when being unseen feels like being forgotten. But remember, the deepest kind of growth often happens in the shadows, away from the spotlight. The roots grow underground before the tree can stand tall. You don't need an audience to become strong, to heal, or to thrive. You only need yourself. When you accept that you are enough, even when unrecognized, you start living more authentically. You stop bending yourself to fit into molds designed by others. You stop chasing illusions of worth that come from outside. Instead, you cultivate a deep love for who you are, with all your flaws and strengths, your past and your potential. This self-acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving or dreaming. It means you do it from a place of peace, not desperation. You grow because you want to become the best version of yourself, not because you need others to notice. You walk your path quietly, but confidently, knowing your worth is not negotiable. You learn that silence doesn't equate to insignificance. Your quiet presence can hold immense power. Sometimes, the most profound impact comes not from shouting your story, but from living it with integrity and grace, regardless of recognition. You become a light that shines steadily, not for applause, but simply because that light is who you are. So embrace your worth quietly. Stand firm in the knowledge that you are enough, even when unseen. Let this truth be your anchor when the world feels overwhelming, and your guide when you feel small. Because your value is eternal, your presence is meaningful, and your life matters, whether anyone else acknowledges it or not.